Former prosecutor Muammer Akkaş, who was dismissed from his position for conducting a major corruption probe that went public on December 17, 2013, has said that while the graft investigation was ongoing, it was realized that Yasin Al-Qadi, a Saudi businessman who had been on the UN and US terror lists for financing the al-Qaeda terrorist network, was being protected by the Turkish state. Speaking with the Millet Daily on Monday, Akkaş stressed that while his office was conducting investigations into key political figures and businesspeople, Al-Qadi, among the prime suspects in the probe, was found having phone conversations with then Prime Minister Recep Tayyip Erdoğan and the National Intelligence Organization, MIT, head, Hakan Fidan. Emphasizing that despite the fact that Al-Qadi was banned from entry to Turkey for funding terrorism, it was discovered that he had face-to-face meetings with Erdoğan and Fidan, and that he was under the protection of the government and the intelligence body. While Al-Qadi was under both physical surveillance and his phone conversations were wiretapped in line with the investigation, it was also found that an encrypted phone had been given to him by the Prime Ministry in order to prevent eavesdropping. We don't know what they talked about during these conversations, but certain foreign countries' intelligence agencies might have wiretapped them. We even noticed that some of the suspects in the probe had conversations through ordinary phones concerning key issues regarding Turkey's national security, Akkaş said. Akkaş said the graft probe started after an illicit plan to transfer the valuable land of the Ediler Police Academy to a company called Bosphorus 360, led by Erdoğan's son Bilal Erdoğan, was unveiled, during which Al-Qadi became a focus of the investigation. Then the scope of the investigation was broadened. The probe revealed huge bid riggings, the fact that certain companies were granted privileges during these public tenders, and the laundering of vast amounts of illicit money accompanied by issues linked to terrorism and bribery. What we faced was not a typical illegal organization but a group involved in massive corruption. I even did not know that the scope of the investigation would reach such an unpredictable point, Akkaş explained. Underscoring his remarks about Al-Qadi and his connections with the MT and the Prime Ministry, Akkaş stressed that though he was designated a supporter of terrorism by the UN and the US, it was realized that Al-Qadi had been offered all types of privileges by the Turkish government, including the allocation of a vehicle, driver, and a bodyguard by the Prime Ministry and MT, and added, "What we found shocked us." Akkaş went on to say, despite the fact that Al-Qadi was banned from entering Turkey in 2012, he entered the country later that same year from Sabiha Gökçen Airport as a VIP passenger. I asked the airport administration to deliver the video recordings showing Al-Qadi's entry. I was then asked by the Prime Ministry why these recordings were requested, adding they did not want a very special guest who paid a visit to Turkey to be identified. I was surprised by the response. It was the first moment that we faced a direct intervention in the probe. Akkaş said that when Al-Qadi had a meeting with Erdoğan and Fidan at the Haliç Congress Center, he requested that the video recordings of the meeting be handed over to the prosecutor's office as part of the probe. In order to evade the revelation of the probe, I asked that the footage be delivered through the narcotics branch of the police department. The aim was to mask the real intention for the request, he added. I did not order a wiretap of Erdoğan and his son. When asked whether he had issued instructions to eavesdrop on Erdoğan and his son Bilal, Akkaş responded, Erdoğan, his son Bilal Erdoğan and Erdoğan's son-in-law were not wiretapped in the probe. The court decisions on the issue are obvious as to who was wiretapped and who was not. However, while a suspect was wiretapped, those they spoke with were also heard. About the audio recording leaked to social media networks in 2014, in which Erdoğan allegedly instructed his son Bilal to dispose of $1 billion in cash from the homes of family members, Akkaş emphasized that he was not aware of the audio recording until it was published on the internet. The police department has no capability of wiretapping encrypted phones. I think such recordings were made by foreign intelligence organizations. They have such capabilities. After the leak of these recordings, it was revealed that German, British, and American intelligence agencies had all wiretapped certain Turkish politicians. In my opinion, Al-Qadi was a key factor in the investigations conducted by these foreign intelligence bodies since he was a businessman who was designated a supporter of terrorism. It is quite understandable that he was being surveilled by them. Akkaş also described the government's meddling in the investigation and the process that led to the probe being dropped as a civil coup, unprecedented in Turkey's history.